after your collegiate track and field career, you hit the pro scene, made the decision to go pro. What went into that decision to, hit the pro scene?
It wasn't really my decision.
Really?
I didn't go to college instantly wanting to go pro. But what happened was I came from a predominantly Caucasian institution for high school. So I didn't really have the great coaching because I was a sprinter and I was one of the few sprinters on my team. Like our team was very much distance dominant.
Okay.
So since I didn't have that caliber of coaching, I went to a HBCU, which was a phenomenal program. Like Coach Hodge started off with recruiting me saying that this was the home of the Olympians because he was a two-time Olympian. Wow. He ran for the Virgin Islands. So to go from a program where I barely lifted, I barely did workouts, like I kind of trained myself, to a really prestigious track and field program, I dealt with a lot of injuries. So my college career running track wasn't even a good one. And I really didn't start breaking the mold of where I could go until my senior year, because like freshman year I redshirted, sophomore year I was injured every other meet. And I was just battling that because I went from not doing much to lifting heavy to doing strenuous workouts. So my coach came to me senior year, was just like, do you want to stop competing in college? And he's like, I feel like you're just meeting your mark, which I felt was the same. So after that, I was getting my master's at Goucher College. And so I stayed in the Baltimore area and I continued to compete. I had a full-time job and a part-time job because I was coaching at that time too. And then I just decided to continue to compete for the 2 years that I was getting my master's.
What was that pro track and field atmosphere like? Especially being, a top-tier athlete and being sponsored by two of the top sports apparel brands, Adidas and Puma, which I just think is the coolest thing in the world. But what was that like, that pro track and field experience and that atmosphere?
Not what people think. It's more of a job at that aspect. It's not fun. So
not that running is fun.
Running is very much fun. But like in college, you get even like the bus rides to the track meets, the team camaraderie. Like it was just always fun. I would see people from other schools, but once you get to the professional side, it's literally a lot of people's moneymaker. Like me, I was doing it because I knew I had another level to reach, and I hadn't reached my peak in college, and I already had a full-time and part-time job at that time. So I wasn't doing it for the money. So it just so happened that going from college to pro, I was able to get those sponsorships, but the professional atmosphere, like even getting prepared for a race, warming up, people barely talk to one another. Everybody's in the zone. Everybody has their own specifications of what they like. And it's completely different. Yeah. That's why I only competed for 2 years in the pro spectrum, because it was way more stressful than a lot of people think and not as much fun.
And that kind of goes with like a lot. I hear that from a lot of pro athletes. Like it goes from fun, kind of extracurricular to job.
Yeah, it's a business. Yeah. So, and for someone who that was not prominent for me, and it wasn't a means of living for me, it wasn't as serious for me. So I just didn't really like that atmosphere much. But it did help me to reach. Which at that time was very close to my full potential. I could have added another year or so to that, even trained for a couple months leading into the indoor season, but then just ultimately decided I didn't want to compete anymore.
Understandable. So, and that leads me perfectly right into my next question. When you made the decision to walk away from, being a pro track and field athlete and focus on some of the other things that you've done, like coaching and personal training, and then your work here at DCIAA, what was that transition like? How long did it really take you to adjust from the hustle and bustle of, being a professional track star to just being an everyday, person?
Not much, because I was already doing that while I was competing. So I literally, my days would look like I would get up and have like weight training from 6 to 7 a.m. and then I would work from like between 8 to 9 to like 4, well actually like 3, and then my part-time job was I was a head track and field coach at Franklin High School in Baltimore County. So I would go straight from my full-time job to my part-time job, which was coaching, and then went straight from coaching to my afternoon track workouts, and then right after my afternoon track workouts I would have classes for my master's degree. So my days were stacked, so I was already in the hustle and bustle. So to me, walking away from competing professionally actually gave me a little more time to breathe in my day. So I wasn't quite upset about it, but it definitely did help me in my coaching career, because right after that, I went straight into coaching. Like I went down to Florida A&M University and was an assistant men's track and field coach there. And for the 2 years I was there, it really helped me give a better story to the young men that I was coaching at that time, because I did compete professionally for 2 years. So I was able to give them some insight on some of the things that I saw, some of the different training methods and such when I did. So it did help me get a better understanding coaching wise. And it did help take my coaching career to another level.